sick and tired, living in a town filled with narrow minds and hate. They used to laugh at me, their children called me names. I would run and hide, feeling so ashamed just for being born. I was just a boy, punished for a crime that was not mine. Life ain't so easy when you're a ghetto child. Oh, baby, life ain't so easy.
Hello, I'm Claudrine Jackson, and this show is A Spoonful of Comfort. And thank you so much for tuning in. I'm very grateful to have the opportunity to speak to you about comfort because we need more comfort in the world right now. I'm thankful to R.J. Watkins and Henry Tyler for having kept this station going for so long and giving people in our community a voice. I wanted to do a show about comfort because we're not getting it from our leaders. The leaders in this country now are full of things like injustice, lying, shenanigans, skullduggery. There's examples of economic inequality and privilege for a few, so we can't look to them for comfort. We get comfort from our church, but we need comfort more than one day a week. So hopefully everyone will remember that we all have a spoonful of comfort. A spoonful is the very minimum of anything that you can give someone. A spoonful of comfort is something that we all have. A spoonful of medicine goes a long way. We're hoping that a spoonful of comfort goes a long way. This show will try to offer you comfort, and next week when you start calling in, you can also offer us comfort. One of my favorite scriptures is Romans 8:24 and 25. For we are saved by hope, but hope seen is not hope, because if you see it, then you don't need to hope for it. But if we hope for that which we see not, but then we do with patience wait for it. It's important to have hope. I remember times when I did not have hope. So now I keep hope. Remember to keep hope alive. We have to keep hope alive. And remember that we all have comfort. We can comfort each other. So next week, when you call in, I hope you have words of comfort for me and for us. And I want this to be a comfort conversation. Now, I am the author of a book, and I'm the author of a blog. My blog is A Spoonful of Comfort, which is where the show got its name. You can find my blog at aspoonfulofcomfort.org. Now, if you click on the blog, you'll see artwork at the front of the, at the top of the page. The artwork is my son's artwork. And I'm constantly trying to show what he can do because there are so many things that he cannot do. He cannot read or write or talk or live independently. But because he has so many deficits, it has pushed me to try to be more helpful. We also have the Purvis Jackson Autism Foundation. Purvis Jackson was the bass singer of the Spinners and my husband, and the impetus for the foundation and the book and all. Now, the Purvis Jackson Autism Foundation is a 501c3 charity. We have helped many parents. We've helped over 300 parents since we were formed in '09. We have paid for therapies, for medicines, for treatments, for camp. There are a lot of needy people in the world, and children with handicaps, lower income children with handicaps, are the neediest of the needy. So if you make a donation to the Purvis Jackson Foundation, you are helping children with handicaps. The Purvis Jackson Foundation is the website is pjjraf.org, which PJ for Purvis Jackson, JR Jr., AF Autism Foundation, Purvis Jackson Jr. Autism Foundation.org. If you go to the website and click on Contact Us, you can make a request for assistance. If you're the parent of a child with a handicap and your child needs help, the Purvis Foundation, that's why we're here. You can click on Contact Us, click on Request for Assistance, fill the form out, mail it in, and we will be getting back with you. Now, if you don't have a computer, ask your child's psychologist or social worker. Special needs children in the city of Detroit are in classes that have access to a psychologist or a social worker. Just ask them to print the form out for you, which has been done, to print the form for you, and then mail it in to the post office box, which is on the form. Now, on the other hand, if you're someone who wants to make a donation, you can make the donation by sending a check to our post office box. It's Purvis Jackson Jr. Autism Foundation. You can just say Purvis Jackson Foundation, Post Office Box 04422, Detroit 48204. The post office box is very easy for me to help parents through getting donations from the post office box. We were a local agency, and somehow we became national, and which is another reason I'm talking about the foundation, because now that we're national, we're getting requests for help from people in other locations. And if we want to continue, and if we want to continue to help people, which is something that I want to do, then we will need help from other people who, and like I said, there are so many needy people. I know, I hear about them all the time, and I'm just thankful that I am able to help. The Purvis Foundation, I don't know if you know about the starfish story. We are based on the starfish story. The starfish story is the man was walking along the beach, and there were all these starfish that had washed ashore, and he was trying to save them. So he was picking up starfish, throwing them back into the water. And someone said, "Why are you doing that? There are too many fish. You can't make a difference." And he picked one up and threw it into the water, and he said it made a difference to that one. Well, that's our basis. We can't help everyone, but we can help someone, and we want to make a difference. Being the parent of a child with a handicap, my son is now 42 years old, so I've been in this for a long time. I had many years of being depressed, which is what the book is about, the depression and how upset I was about finding myself as the parent of a child with a handicap, because that wasn't one of my plans. I was, as I said last week, I was traveling and shopping and having a wonderful life and traveling among the beautiful people. And then this child came along, this child that I didn't expect, didn't want, didn't know what to do about. But through him, I discovered another group of beautiful people. I discovered people who are working with children with handicaps. I discovered parents of children with handicaps. I discovered just how many disabilities we could have. So those of us that are not disabled, we are blessed. And I'm so thankful that even though my son can't talk, I can. And my son, being his mother, gives me the courage to talk. I wanted to tell you about my book, Inspired by Autism. I am very proud of this book, but it is not a success story. in the disabilities world, a success story would be if my son were living in the community independently and holding down a job, neither of which he can do. But the fact that he is not a success story does not mean that he's loved any less than any other person who is a success. Thank you, WHPR. They are allowing me to have my book here at the gift shop, and you can purchase the book here at the gift shop at the WHPR at 160 Victor in Highland Park. The price is marked $14.95, but here in the gift shop we'll be selling it for $10. And I'll also be available to autograph it for you if you come in and make a purchase. The book has comics in the back of it, comics that are things that I learned to laugh about instead of cry about. And one of the comics in here is we were cooking, and my son used to like to help me cook, and he still likes to help me cook. And that's nothing I ever would have taught him. But we were cooking, and I asked him to bring me the flour. Well, he'd helped me before, so I knew that he knew what flour was. But he went into the living room and got a vase with flowers in it and brought it to me. And that was so funny because it never occurred to me that he would get the wrong flour. And that was a laugh. And I have some other laughs in here that gave me inspiration. And when I say the book is called Inspired by Autism, because my son's deficits inspired me to try to do something, and I'm still trying to do something and probably will be trying to do something from now on. I want to read to you one of the poems. There are comics in the book. There are poems that I was inspired to write. There's poems that his father was inspired to write. There are a couple of poems that his father was inspired to write. So I want to read to you a poem written by his father, Purvis Jackson, the bass singer of the Spinners. It's called PJ. We call Purvis Jr. PJ. It's just called PJ, and it's from Purvis Sr. to Purvis Jr. People look at you like you don't exist, but you have a lot of qualities that the people miss. You're different from others in so many ways. There are a lot of things that you want to say. So I'll be your voice, come what may. You look to us for guidance and truth. So I'll try to do my best for you. I'll do for you whatever I can. You are always part of my plan. The bottom line is, I'm your old man. And I don't care what people say. I'm going to love you anyway. Purvis Sr. is gone, but Purvis Jr. is in good hands now. He's with me, and I have help with him. That's the other thing about being the parent of a child with a disability. You need help. I've always needed help, but most of the time I had help. And one of the things that the Purvis Foundation wants to do is help the parents who need help. Many parents of children with handicaps are single parents because having a child with a handicap causes dissension in the marriage, and a lot of times the mother is a single mother struggling by herself. So I want to leave you with something by Norman Vincent Peale, one of my favorite positive thinkers. He wrote The Power of Positive Thinking. Dr. Peale also said that the attitude is more important than the fact, that whatever the fact of your life is, your attitude about it is more important. I had to change my attitude about being the parent of a child with autism. We're going to take a break, and I have a very, very special guest who is coming on after the break. You will be very pleased to meet him. I am pleased and honored to have my guest today. Thank you.
When I was 17, I ran away from home and from everything I had ever known.
I was sick and tired, living in a town filled with narrow minds and hate.
They used to laugh at me, their children called me names. I would run and hide, feeling so ashamed
Just for being born, I was just a boy, punished for a crime that was not mine. Life ain't so easy when you're a ghetto child. Oh baby, life ain't so easy when you're a ghetto child. No one tried to understand. Papa did the best a man could do.
Welcome back to A Spoonful of Comfort. I appreciate you giving us the privilege of your time. I'm very honored for my guest that I want to introduce to you, the president and CEO of the Detroit Area Agency on Aging. But there's a couple things I want to say about the Area Agency on Aging before you meet him. The mission of the Detroit Area Agency on Aging, and he may add to this, is to educate, advocate, and promote healthy aging and to help older people make choices. It's also to assist elder adults, adults with disabilities, and caregivers. That is how I became acquainted with Mr. Bridgewater. Having been a caregiver for so many years, he did a beautiful column in the Michigan Chronicle about caregivers, and I felt like we are the forgotten people. So without further ado, I want to introduce to you the director, president of the Detroit Area Agency on Aging, Paul Bridgewater.
Ms. Jackson,
thank you for being here.
No, thank you for the invitation. I'm very honored to be here. And certainly you are a champion for caregivers because, as you explained, your book, your passion, and that happens throughout the United States because we're finding more and more individuals dealing with caregivers issues and not having the resource to really help people out.
We would like for you to tell us about some of the services that the Detroit Area Agency on Aging offers. And I want you to know that this show, A Spoonful of Comfort, this agency is one of my comforts, knowing that the agency is there.
You're so kind. You know, the Area Agency on Aging, as you outline, our mission is there to provide services for the elderly population for the eastern part of Wayne County. Our mission is to provide direct services such as in-home services, a very popular program, Meals on Wheels, but mostly to really help people start planning for long-term care. What we find in many cases, people, when they face issues of aging, they really don't know where to go. And our agency is there to provide that resource, those directions, to help people understand aging is a natural process. It starts with birth. And as one grow older, there's different needs in different stages of our lives. And when it comes to the older population, they're still young and vibrant. But as you know, the body began to deteriorate. In some cases, our minds get slower. But that's a natural process of life. And we're there, hopefully, to provide that information, that support, to help people stay in their home as long as possible, to be independent, and really part of the family and the community.
Thank you so much. Do you have any advice for us seniors, as I am defined now as elderly? I don't feel it, but legally I'm defined as elderly. So do you have any kind of health advice for us seniors?
Well, I think the key is staying active, staying engaged, being involved. And when we talk about the issues of caregiving, and caregiving may start, as you know, that at an early age, yes, mid-age, and old age. And I guess if there's any information that I want to share about caregiving is to look at putting a plan together that involves the entire family. Because what we find with the age population, that burden tends to fall on one person. And one person really can't handle all the aspects of caring for a loved one. And that's the challenge in the sense, how do you come up with a plan? Just recently, my mother, who's 91 years old, called all of us together, all the children and grandchildren, and we laid out her will. Now, as the siblings, we did not want to broach that conversation,
Sure.
but she did
Yes.
for us and gave us, each one of us, an assignment. Now we are our caregiver family, carrying out her wishes. I think when you talked about your son and certainly your book and your husband, that's something that you've been carrying a long time ago, but you are caregivers. And many individuals out there are probably caregivers, and some reluctantly, some that would embrace it. But I think the key is, one, get as much information that you can about all the programs and services that's offered. Secondly is, and this is a tragedy, don't get into what we call caregivers burnout, because that happens, because you're trying to carry that load all by yourself, but yet there are resources out there, and making contact with those resources to lighten the burden, but yet more importantly, to make sure that you are taking care of the loved one and not putting yourself in jeopardy.
Thank you so much. That is the article that you wrote in the Chronicle that really got my attention. I was young
Yes.
when I became a caregiver,
Yes.
because I was 35, and I thought, I can do this myself.
Yeah.
I don't need help.
Right.
But the caregiver burnout does come about,
Right,
even
right.
if you're young, as
Yes,
I was.
yes.
So I had to learn to ask for help. And I've always seen myself as the person that does the helping.
Yes, yes.
I did not want to be the person to have to ask for help. But because of my son, I did learn how to ask for help. So thank you so much for caring about caregivers
right,
also.
right.
Now, I know you have a couple of big events coming up. So
Yeah.
could you tell us about your events that are coming up in the next in the next few weeks?
Yes, well, thank you for sharing that. And the biggest event, as you know, one of the programs that I'm proud of is our Meals on Wheels program, and that's a program providing meals for homebound senior citizens. The unfortunate issue that we have, the government funds are not there to keep up with those individuals who really want a meal. And so we have a wait list of almost 1,500 individuals who can't come on our program because there's not enough funds. And in some cases, the government is talking about cutting back on the Meals on Wheels program. So on December 3rd, we're having a telethon on another station we won't mention, but the key is to ask people to make a donation for our Meals on Wheels program. We're asking as little as $5, and $5 will pay for a meal. But the most important issues with this program is giving us an opportunity to ask for help from our community to support seniors who are homebound and waiting for a meal. I think that's a big tragedy.
I'm so glad. Like I said, you're my comfort agency. What time will the telethon be on December the 3rd?
It's going to be on WADL from 5 to 7. Now, let me say 7 to 9.
Okay.
7 to 9. And we'll have our phone number, which is area code 313-446-4444, where individuals can call in and make a pledge to our program.
Well, thank you. Now, for the consumer advocacy and issues that affect older adults, what do we all need to know and do? Because, as you mentioned, there are some older adults that can't advocate for themselves.
Yes.
So what do we need to do?
Well, certainly as we look at a number of issues with aging, and aging is a program that's expanding throughout the United States. As we look at the baby boomers, there are a number of programs, issues out there for an elderly population. So again, they can call our number and ask for our information and assistance program, area code 313-446-4444, and those concerns those issues, those complaints, they can call that number. We have an advocacy department. We have an outreach department. Certainly, we create an opportunity to have discussions and focus group on how do we address some of the issues that are in our community with an age population that sometimes people tend to want to forget about. But those individuals are part of our community. We got to make sure that we address those needs and certainly ensure that the elderly people are part of the village. They are the key part of the village because they transfer that past knowledge to a new population that's learning and need to know some of the challenges our elderly population have had to go through in their life journey.
Thank you so much. We're going to take a break, but I want to thank Mr. Bridgewater. I don't know if he'll hang around for after the break or not, but the Agency on Aging, 50 years ago, I wouldn't have cared about it. But if you keep living, you get to that point. Thank you very much for tuning in to A Spoonful of Comfort. I am Claudrine Jackson, your host. Next week, you'll be able to call in. We're going to talk about the 20 grand reunion, and we're going to talk about other things that you can make a contribution to us, a comfort contribution. And you can also say what you want about the 20 grand reunion. And remember, you don't have to see eye to eye to walk hand in hand. You can disagree without being disagreeable. Thank you, WHPR. God bless America. God bless freedom of speech. God bless the Detroit Area Agency of Aging. Please tune in next Tuesday at 1:30 for A Spoonful of Comfort. Thank you.